First thing we will do is download the XT Key client once we're logged in. To do that, we click on the XT Key client link, then we click to download and run the XT Key client. When you're in the software, you want to add users and assign keys to users, and add openings and assign cylinders to openings. First thing we'll do is assign a key to a user. So we will add a new user here. The required fields are first name and last name. And then save this user. To assign a key to that user, we go to the Keys tab. Find the serial number of the key that we want to assign to the user. Assigning the key to user is done by dragging and dropping. John Doe now has key 776-671. To assign a lock to an opening, we create an opening first. Add new opening. Short name is the only field that is required. Then to assign a lock or a cylinder to an opening, we go to the Cylinders tab. Find the serial number of the cylinder we want to assign to the lock. And drag that to the opening. To set up a schedule for a key, we'll set up a schedule for the key that we just assigned to John Doe to open the door, SFIC door. We will go to the Scheduling tab, look for our user, and create a custom schedule for this user. We have the ability to select 5 different types of keys for this user. We will select operating key to begin with. An operating key is a key that will just open the lock. We must choose some option under audits, rolling entries, or disable the key so that no entries are lost. Each key holds up to 10,000, more than 10,000 audits on it, so most applications will choose roll entries, as you will reschedule the key before you get to the audit limit. The next step in the scheduling process is defining the access list. These are the locks that the key will open. We have the groups and openings that are possible on the left. A single click for a selection moves it to the access list on the right. The final step is choosing the time that the key will open the lock. We will choose an extended schedule. Allow the user to start working the key immediately. We will choose all days, though you could select the following days and choose only days that you want the key to operate the lock. We can choose for a full 24-hour range, or allow the key only to operate during some set time frame during the day. For example, 7 a.m. to 5 p.m. In the extended schedule, we choose how long we want the user to use the key before they have to reprogram or validate their key again. And we have some options here. For this, we will just choose 7 days, meaning that this key must be reprogrammed at some programming device at least once every 7 days to continue to operate. And then we will choose to extend the key on its next service, meaning the next time the key is serviced, it will get an additional 7 days. At this point, we finish the schedule, and the schedule is pending and is ready to be applied to the key. So now we will go back to the key client and apply the schedule to the key by clicking on Start Scanning. This particular key needed a firmware update, which is a one-time update to this key. If a firmware update is required, the key client will find that. The firmware update on this key is now complete, so we will finish the scheduling process. We see the battery level as well, which is currently at 22%. The programming device also operates as a key charger. So that completes the scheduling of the key. It should now open the lock as an operator key. After we have successfully scheduled a key to open a lock as an operator key, once we insert the key into the lock, we will get a green light, and then you turn the key to open the lock. So once we insert the key, we will get a green light and turn to open the lock. And this is the operator function of a key. If a key is not successfully scheduled to open a lock, or if the key is outside of its revalidation period for the lock, or if the lock is not on the key's schedule, then access will be denied. And we see this by the red light on the key once the key is inserted into the lock, and the key will not turn. The red light tells us that the lock is either not on the schedule or the schedule is not valid for the lock. Now we will take a look at the control key function for a key. So we will edit the schedule of John Doe, and instead of making John Doe an operator, we will make John Doe a control key. This is a key that will insert and remove small format interchangeable cores from their housing. So the first thing we do is select the control key function from step 1, select key function. Next, we will define the access list, and the access list for this key will be the SFIC door. We can remove and add using just a single click. The next step is setting the access time, and setting the access time is done the same for a control key as for an operator key. We will choose to allow the key to work immediately for all days, perhaps for a full 24-hour period, and have it reschedule every 7 days. Once we have the control key function schedule set up, we will save the schedule and apply that schedule to the key, the same way we applied the operating schedule to the key. A control key is used to insert and remove a small format interchangeable core from a housing. A control key is used to drop this lug inside of the small format interchangeable core so that it will fit into a housing. The control key function on a XT key is done in the following manner. I will insert the key and turn the key clockwise to about the 2 o'clock position. Once the green light goes off of the key, I will move the key back to 12 o'clock and then forward again, and that will drop this lug into the SFIC core. So I insert the key, get a green light to 2 o'clock, back to 12, and forward again. Then if I hold my index finger on the side of the key to apply pressure, we can see that the control lug has dropped inside of the SFIC core. Now we have the control lug dropped inside of the SFIC core. To put it in the housing, we want the cam on the housing at about the 2 to 3 o'clock position so that it will go into the housing easily, the core will. Then we can remove the key. Now the SFIC core is inside of the SFIC housing. To remove the core, we do the same process as we used to insert the core. So we will put the key into the lock, we will get a green light, we will turn the key to about the 2 o'clock position. When the light goes off, we move back to 12 and forward again to drop the lug inside of the SFIC core. Timing is important on this. It has to be done in a smooth, quick motion. Insert the key, green light, 2 o'clock, back to 12, and forward again to remove the core from the housing. The next key we will create is an audit key. Remember, the XT key has the ability to perform 5 different features, but it must be scheduled for each feature. So an XT key can perform 5 different features, but it can only perform one function at a time. So we will create John Doe's key as an audit key. To do that, we will click on Edit Custom, and we will choose Audit as the type of key. And then we see in the audit area, whenever a cylinder is accessed, retrieve, and we want to know how many of the most recent audits we want to retrieve. For this example, we will use 200. So we will retrieve the most recent 200 audits from a cylinder using the audit key. The next step, of course, will be to define the access list. We see that the audit keys will be able to retrieve entries from all cylinders in your system. So we do not have an access list. The reason we do not have an access list is because an audit key will only retrieve audits. It will not open cylinders. So by creating an audit key, we create an audit key that can audit any cylinder in the system. We then set the access time for the audit key, and this is done the same way that you would create an access time for an opening as an operator or for a control key. So we will just choose immediately, all days, 24-hour a day range, and extend the key on its next service for 7 days. Once we save this, we are now ready to apply this schedule to the key using the key client. When we create a key as an audit key, it will pull audits from a cylinder to tell us what keys have touched that cylinder. An audit key cannot open a cylinder. When we put the audit key in the cylinder, the green light on the key will flash while the audits are being pulled into the key. Once the key has completed pulling audits from the cylinder, the green light will go solid and we will know that we can remove the key. Pulling audits now. Audits have completed pulling. We can remove the key. The key will not open the lock. Green light flashing, cannot open the lock. Solid green, cannot open the lock. But the audits, the most recent 200 from the cylinder, are now on this key. To be able to view these audits in the software, we must reprogram this key and then go to the Audit Tab in order to find the audits that we're looking for. When we bring an audit key back to be reprogrammed to pull the audits off of the cylinder, we want to put it in the key programming device. And this is the way we would actually reprogram any key, whether it is an operating key, a control key, an audit key, whatever. The programming device will flash red, indicating that it is actually charging the key. When we start scanning in the key client, the light on the key will light up. Notice we have the green and red together. While the green and red lights are together on the key, we should not remove the key from the programming device as processing is taking place. Once the scheduling is complete, the key will simply light green and we can remove the key from the programming device. To read any audit data from a key after we have reprogrammed the key, we would go to the Audit tab and look for information there. We can see that we have pulled audits from the cylinder using an audit key. We have an audit type of cylinder, and we can see the audits that were pulled from the cylinder using the key. So for example, John Doe changed the core of the cylinder. We can see that here. We can see when cores were opened, the date, the time, all of those things. We can see that from the Audit tab, and if we are looking for the audits that we pulled using an audit key, we want to sort audit type cylinder. The next function we will take a look at for a key is the operator plus audit function. So we will edit John Doe's schedule again, and we will make John Doe's key an operator plus audit key. So under step 1, select key function, we will select operator plus audit. Step 2, we will define the access list. we will use the SFIC door as the lock that we are going to access, and at the same time we also want to retrieve 200 audits from that lock. These are done in the Define Access List area. Step 3 is setting the access time, and we will choose to make the key work immediately on all days for a 24-hour range, and have the user service their key after 7 days to get another 7 days. Then we will save this schedule and apply it to the key. The function of an operator plus an audit key. The key will pull the preset amount of audits from the core first and then allow you to open the core. So we are going to pull 200 audits from the core, and then the key will be allowed to open the core. This is a combination of the operator key and the audit key. We insert the key and audits are being pulled from the core. When the green light goes solid, we can turn the key and open the door. The operator plus audit function. We will now read the audits from the operator plus audit key. We know that that was a key that was pulling audits from the cylinder, and so we will go to event type cylinder, and we can see the audits from the cylinder using the operator plus audit key. We can see that John Doe opened the cylinder successfully, but that Jane Doe did not open the cylinder successfully, and the reason is given because Jane Doe's key is present on the blacklist. We also see where we created a blacklist key and loaded a blacklist on the cylinder. So audit events from the cylinder include every event that has happened when a key has been put into the cylinder. The next key that we're going to show is how to set up a blacklist or setup key. So we will take John Doe's key and turn it into a blacklisting key. To do that, we will choose the setup key function for John Doe's key. The next step is define the access list. To define the access list, we choose what doors we want to put the blacklist on. We will choose the SFIC door. The next step in the define access list window is choosing what keys we want to blacklist at the SFIC door. So we will edit the blacklist. We find the key that we want to put on the blacklist and add it to the blacklist. The key that we want to put on the blacklist is key serial number 776669. So we will type that in the search field. Then we will drag this key to the blacklist and apply. The final step is once again setting the access time for the blacklist, and we will just let it start immediately and choose the settings that we've set for other keys. Once John Doe's key has been made a blacklisted key, we apply that schedule using the key client, and then we will put John Doe's key into the lock, blocking Jane Doe's key from operating the lock. Now we're going to demonstrate how to block a key at a lock. So the first key that I use is a key that will operate the lock. This is an operator key, and we want to block this key at this lock. Perhaps the key has been lost, or we just do not want this key to have access to this lock any longer. We created a blacklist schedule and placed the blacklist schedule on this key, and the blacklist has the serial number of this key that operates the lock on it. When I place this key into the lock, the blacklist from this key will be moved into the lock. This key that is a blacklist key will not open the lock. It simply transfers the serial numbers of the blocked keys to the lock. We get a solid green light. Once the light goes away, the blacklisting has completed. Now this key, even though it has a valid schedule on it, will not open this lock because it is on the blacklist. If a user's schedule has been changed, then under the key status, we will see the word pending. This means that the key needs to be presented to some programming device in order to get the updates. After a key has been scheduled and there are no updates waiting for it, we see, as in the case of John Doe, his key is now active, meaning that there are no scheduling updates for it, and the key is currently within its expiration period. We see that John Doe's key will next expire 7 days from today at midnight, because that is the way that we created his schedule to work. So John Doe must put his key in a programming device before midnight on March the 7th, 2018, in order for his key to have uninterrupted service. If John Doe waited until March the 19th to put his key in a programming device, then John Doe would be able to get 7 days of access from March the 19th. But the period between March the 17th and March the 19th, he would not have had access to any locks, because his schedule is set up to revalidate at least once every 7 days. If a key is on a blacklist for a lock, we can go to the openings, for example, and see the SFIC door that we created that has a cylinder in it, and it will have a tab called View Restrictions. If there is a blacklist on a lock and that blacklist holds key serial numbers, then under the Openings tab you will find those keys that are on that lock's blacklist by clicking on View Restrictions. And we can see that the following keys have been loaded on this Openings blacklist. Key number 776-669 has been blacklisted on this lock, and that's the reason it would not open the lock.